So I'm here with Mr. Carl Pikus. He's with IPX 1031. He is our 1031 guru. Every time we have anyone that's looking for something like that, we actually call Mr. Carl. And we get some free advice with Carl today, so I want to say thank you for hanging out with us today.
You're welcome.
Beautiful San Antonio with the Tower of America is right behind us. Let's talk about 1031 exchanges. What properties qualify for 1031s?
Well, 1031 exchange has been around since the 1920s, and it enables a taxpayer to sell investment property.
Right.
Business property, investment property, sell that property and exchange it for other business and investment property and defer the taxes, capital gains tax, the depreciation recapture tax.
So when someone has these investment properties, if they do not use a 1031 exchange, what would end up happening to them?
They're going to pay the taxes. Sell the property, and let's assume that you bought the property for $100,000, you sell it for $200,000, and you're going to have at least $100,000 of capital gains, 15 to 23.8%. So you can anticipate a $15,000 tax hit in a situation like that.
Right.
And 1031 enables you to defer those taxes.
Sure.
So you can sell that property, buy a replacement property, a business property, investment property,
Right.
and defer those taxes. So as opposed to the government getting the $15,000,
Sure.
the $15,000 goes into the principal of your next property.
So you just keep on taking the money and then reinvesting it.
Yes, theoretically. If someone started their real estate investment career in their 20s
Right.
and bought a property for $100,000, put a 20 grand down, bought an apartment building for $100,000, and in the course of 10 years, maybe that apartment building became a $200,000 property, and they look to sell that property.
Sure.
And if you were to do that, again, you'd have about a $15,000 tax hit. If you were to not do the exchange, do the exchange,
Right.
sell the property for $200,000, buy a new property for $250,000, and if in the course of the next 10 years that $250,000 property becomes, say, a $500,000 property,
Right.
if you were to sell that property at that time, again, 15 to 20%, now you're looking at $80,000, $100,000 tax hit. You certainly don't want that.
Definitely not.
Sell the property for $500,000, buy a new property for $500,000 or greater, and again, you have deferred the taxes. You can keep doing this.
Right.
You can do this for your entire career. You could have a career of investment over 40 years. And let's say that on your second exchange, you do sell for $500,000, buy for $600,000, and in 10 years sell for $800,000, now a tax hit of 140 grand. You don't want that, you do another exchange. It is what we in the industry call swap till you drop. So if in the course of 40 years, that $100,000 investment becomes a $1.5 million investment, if the owner were to sell that property before he dies, he'd be looking at a $300,000 tax hit. When he passes though, heirs get a step up in cost basis, value of the property, date of death, properties with 1.5 million. The heirs sell that property for roughly 1.5 million after dad passes, and now there's no tax, or virtually no tax.
Gotcha. Quick takeaway, how fast do you have to figure out what properties you're going to buy once you sell a property in the 1031 exchange?
When the relinquished property closes, you've got 180 calendar days to buy your replacement properties, which is 6 months, which is not really your challenge. Your challenge is to identify those properties by day 45.
So you have to sell it and then you got a month and a half to figure out which properties you're interested in.
Exactly.
And then at that point you can just use the rest of the 180 days
Exactly.
to purchase it.
Exactly. So the key there is to go shopping, have a plan. If you sell your relinquished property and you're looking at a big tax hit and you want to do a 1031 exchange, that's fine. But the goal there is to get out there, find that replacement property, make sure it's identified by day 45, and then you've got another 135 days to actually close on it.
So bottom line, if anyone's looking to pretty much sell any investment property, the best thing to do is just to call Mr. Carl Pikus up front. Okay, and we appreciate you coming by here. Again, this is our 1031 exchange guru, Mr. Carl Pikus. That's it, we'll see you back in the studio.